Who that? Another helicopter. Oh, wow. Aw. I think that's all impromptu. The last thing I just heard on the scanner was the crowd. The organizer said that the march is heading to City Hall. Yep, that's what they always do. They just kind of wander around and then they go back and then they disperse. Or by whom? Where? Behind us. All right. How far are we from the show? Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Copy all. Thank you. If you're listening to us on the web this evening, thank you for taking the time. You have to understand this is kind of a little bit more behind the scenes type of stuff, and a little less formal type of reporting. Basically, we're streaming this on the web, and I can give you some information on where we are, what we're looking at, and what's happening. But I have other radios. I talk to other people, so if I seem distracted or saying things out of context, chances are I'm talking on a radio or to a producer, or perhaps my pilot this evening. John, right now, though, this is a march. It's an anti-Steve Bannon march. And if you're asking who's Steve Bannon, because I certainly did this earlier this evening, Steve Bannon is now the person that's working with Donald Trump as his new strategist, chief strategist. So Trump gave Bannon the tap on the shoulder to be the next chief strategist, and this crowd out here of about 500 people got together tonight, and they're giving him the thumbs down. They don't like Bannon, and they probably don't like Trump either. The march, though, started on City Hall, at the steps of City Hall earlier this evening. Peaceful protest. The organizers of this group said that this is a family-friendly event. And, the signs do reflect that in the aspect that there is very little profanity that we've seen this evening. Also nonviolent. We haven't seen anything out of sorts. The group stood on the steps of City Hall for a while. They did some speeches. They did some chanting. And then they took to the streets. They walked from City Hall down to about the Staples Center area, and now are working their way northbound on Figueroa, downtown Los Angeles, northbound Figueroa. They're past 11th, so my guess is they're probably coming up on 8th Street right about now. And I am correct, it is 8th Street. LAPD is keeping an eye on the march this evening. They're carrying signs and chanting. There was a large crowd down at the Staples Center area and also the Convention Center area. We have the car show, or the pre-car show stuff going on there tonight. And then LA Live is usually pretty busy. Right now, though, the crowd's carrying the signs, getting their word out that they are not about Steve Bannon being the new chief strategist working with Donald Trump right now. Signs chanting, northbound Figueroa. This is where the march is going, and it's been very peaceful this evening. If you're watching on Facebook Live or on the internet right now, we're watching a march. This is an anti-Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, the new chief strategist with Donald Trump for the presidency. Basically what had happened was Trump tapped Bannon on the shoulder, said, "You're going to be my chief strategist." And these folks out here, a group of about 500 people have said, no, we don't like that. So they're out on the streets this evening. A quick organizer got together, got this group. They said it's a family-friendly group. It has been. It's been very peaceful. They started out on the steps of City Hall earlier this evening, chanting with their signs, talking amongst themselves, and then the march started. The group took to the streets. They made their way down from City Hall down to Staples Center, and now they're working their way back towards City Hall. That's what we're being told. The crowd right now is going to be northbound on Figueroa, just about 7th Street. If they're not at 7th Street right now, that's the direction they're heading. That's the intersection they're crossing right there. LAPD's been keeping an eye on this group. It has been very peaceful. There hasn't been any shenanigans or anything out of the sorts going on. You can see officers from LAPD actually walking at the head of the line there, and one of their trucks. Also, they've been stopping traffic as the march has been making their way northbound on Figueroa. Again, this is an anti-Steve Bannon march this evening. Steve Bannon is going to be the chief strategist for Donald Trump. Right now, you can see the crowd down there unhappy about that decision. They're carrying signs, doing protests. They made their way down to LA Live earlier on this evening. That's over by the Convention Center in the downtown Los Angeles area. It was actually, there was a number of people out there, spectators watching the crowd as they walked by. People carrying their signs. Peaceful, no shenanigans, like I said. Northbound Figueroa right now, passing 7th Street. The organizer said that this is a family-friendly event, and it does appear to be that way as we're walking our way northbound right now, heading back towards City Hall. Go ahead. Go ahead. I got you. I got you. I got you. Rick, I got you. All right, copy. I don't know if you were listening to what I was saying on the web, but that's about that's what's going on, right? Copy. Steve Bannon. Okay. Further, probably close the streets. Rick, real quick, are you still with me? I was told that he was the chief strategist. Okay. Copy. All right, copy all. I hadn't heard it said that way. All right. They're. Oh, got to be on the ready. I think they're closing making sure they don't get on the freeway. Yes, they are. All right, what are we turning on? 6th Street. Oh, where did they go? I hate it when they do this. No. All right, copy all. Thank you. All right, copy all. They say he's anti-gay and anti-immigrant? Or what was the other one? And racist. All right, they claim. Copy all. Yes, I try. I would stay away from all of that. Okay. Copy all. Well, that's right. The march right now working its way through downtown Los Angeles. They're actually on on 6th Street, just past Flower, approaching Hope. Now, this group was a very peaceful group. They actually started on the steps of City Hall, and, you know, they are actually targeting one particular person this evening, not Donald Trump, but Steve Bannon. Now, Steve Bannon actually was the architect of the win, or the surprise win, of Donald Trump during the election, and Trump basically tapped him on the shoulder and said, now you're going to be my new chief strategist. Well, that's all good for him, but down here in Los Angeles, this group right here, not so happy about that. They're saying that they believe that Bannon is a racist and also anti-gay. So they're out here this evening in numbers, marching, very peaceful. Now, the organizer of this group said that this is a family-friendly event, and it has been for the most part. Even the signs don't have that profanity that we've seen in the past. Right now, though, the group basically has walked from downtown excuse me, from City Hall down to the Staples Center, now working its way back to City Hall. They're on 6th Street. LAPD out here keeping the traffic away from the protesters, and for the most part, we haven't seen any shenanigans this evening. It has been a very peaceful march, live in Sky 9 over downtown Los Angeles. Back to you guys in the studio. You know, we don't, and we were here when that was going on. We heard the same information. The organizer telling everybody that the group was just going to stay on the steps of City Hall, and the crowd just kept growing and growing, and then there was this quick impromptu move where we saw just a couple of protesters look like they were leaving. Then all of a sudden, they all just started marching down Spring. It was very quick. It was a very fluid move, but it's been very peaceful. That has been very much the what we've been seeing. You can see some waving of hands down there. A lot of excitement, a lot of energy, but none of that energy being turned into anything violent or the graffiti that we've seen in the past. This has been a quote-unquote family-friendly event, and that's from the words of the organizer of this march, and that's what we've been seeing down there this evening. Copy all, thank you. And if you guys are listening on the web, what was going on there, it's kind of a behind the scenes. You probably just hear the web stuff and you hear my voice, you see the picture, but you have to realize this is being put on television. And while I'm up here and my mic is hot, I have many other voices in my ear, many other radios that I work with, and of course my pilot this evening. So that's what you're hearing. You're not, if you hear a laughter or a snicker or me answering or saying something that might not fit the picture, chances are what is happening there is that I'm talking to somebody else, a producer, or maybe somebody from our desk or the pilot giving me some information. But what you're seeing right there is a protest this evening. If you haven't heard it just moments ago, Steve Bannon, the group down there does not approve of them being the new chief strategist, and that's because they believe that he is a racist and anti-gay. Of course, the Trump people deny that. They say that it's not true, but right now, this is what we're seeing, and this group marching peacefully this evening, carrying signs, chanting. They did make their point loud, and they went to a place where there were a lot of people this evening, and everything that we've seen has been very positive from the group and the reaction down in the downtown Los Angeles area. LAPD escorting the group right now as they are marching, still on 6th Street. And it looks like they're going to be making a turn to the north, and my pilot's telling me that we have to move as well. It's very difficult to shoot crowds in through these buildings. I give my hats off to all the photographers that work in big cities, especially the ones in New York where this is all they do. Very difficult to shoot between buildings. But right now they're just approaching the Pershing Square area. You can see the officers from LAPD working with the crowd, trying to keep the cars from being in the streets so the crowds don't have to walk between any moving vehicles. Peaceful crowd for sure. Okay, just a little information where this group is right now. The march is actually walking northbound on Hill Street, passing 2nd. That's what we're seeing right now. Group of about, the number was about 500. It seems to be getting a little bit smaller as it's working its way back to City Hall. Earlier this evening, the group started on the steps of City Hall. There's a family-friendly event is what the organizer is saying. Basically, this is not just an anti-Trump march. This is actually an anti-Steve Bannon march. If you're asking who's Steve Bannon is the person that basically is credited with the architect of the win of the elections of Donald Trump. Then Donald Trump went ahead and tapped him on the shoulder and said that you're going to be my new chief advisor. And obviously Donald gave him the thumbs up, but this crowd down there is giving him the thumbs down. Now they got on the steps of City Hall earlier this evening. They weren't supposed to be marching. This was supposed to be a family event where they stayed on the stairs. I can say though, on a positive light, that it is more of a family event because we see a lot less of the profanity in the signs this evening. Thank you for that. Also, if you're listening right now, I have a live mic. I'm narrating, doing a little narration for you guys so you know what you're looking at. Also, you have to understand that I'm multitasking up there. I have plenty of people in my ear talking, and you don't hear that side of the conversation. Also, I'm talking to my pilot John this evening, so every now and then if I get off mark, I might be talking to somebody else. If you hear me laughing, it might be because I'm talking to somebody else and we're passing along something that may not have anything to do with what we're seeing this evening. What I'm saying though is this group marching this evening, they are anti-Bannon, Steve Bannon. Donald Trump appointed him the new chief strategist, I guess earlier today. Right now, this group believes, their belief is that Bannon is a racist and anti-gay. Of course, the Trump camp says, no, not so much. But all that being said, this group right now exercising First Amendment rights, marching in the streets, carrying signs. LAPD here with them. They marched from City Hall down to the Staples Center, and now are walking back to the City Hall. If this is all happening in downtown Los Angeles, making a turn right now, I believe we're going to be on First Street. Actually, just getting a wider shot. Yeah, they're walking. They're making their way back over towards the City Hall area. But this group has been very peaceful, and as I said earlier, they are protesting, or they are unhappy about the nod or the tap on the shoulder for Steve Bannon being the new chief strategist with Donald Trump. Right now, though, the crowd making their way back to City Hall, and I believe that's where they will disband, but that's yet to be seen. All right, joining again. Hopefully, we'll see where the protest takes us, but this may be coming to the end of their march this evening. They're just making their last turn northbound on Spring near First. I know this area pretty well. There it is. There is the courthouse, City Hall, excuse me, City Hall. Steps of City Hall is where this started, and we believe steps of City Hall is where this is going to end, but that is never a for sure type of thing. Group this evening, they are marching. They are unhappy about the nod of Steve Bannon being the new chief strategist with Donald Trump. The group got together this evening, started probably a couple hundred, went into the probably close to 500 at one time. Right now it's thinning out as they're making their way back towards the steps of City Hall. Family-friendly event, that's what the organizer billed it as, and we do see less profanity down there for sure this evening. Steve Bannon was the guy that was the architect of the surprise win of Donald Trump for the bid for presidency. And then lately, the last thing we know now is that Donald Trump basically gave him the tap and said, I want you to be my new chief advisor. He gave him the thumbs up. This crowd gave him the thumbs down. The crowd believes that Steve Bannon is a racist and also anti-gay. That's the reason why they're marching in the streets this evening. Right now, though, they're making their way back over to the steps of City Hall. This is where it began earlier this evening. The crowd has been very peaceful. We haven't seen any shenanigans this evening at all. Many times we do see a lot of the spray painting and throwing of things. Right now, though, haven't seen any of that as the crowd is making his way back to the steps of City Hall and seems to be setting up for one more thing, whatever the group meeting here on the steps. LAPD's been along for the march for the entire time. We haven't seen them make any moves or take anybody into custody because they didn't need to. Right now, though, they're just starting to reassemble on the steps of City Hall. Yes, yes, it is. One of the guys did light a traffic flare. That's the reason why I pushed in on it. I don't know what he has in that box right there, but if he does set a fire, that might be one of those lines that's going to be crossed. If you're joining us on the web and you're hearing me talk, I'm talking to one of the producers on another radio that you cannot hear, asking me what was going on with that person with a traffic flare down there. There is a box next to him. I'm not sure what the plans are. But right now, that guy has a traffic flare, just kind of getting people's attention. Maybe he's talking to the group. Who knows? But that all being said, earlier on this evening, that group filled this entire stairwell area. I mean, it was completely full. Right now, this has got to be about a quarter of what we saw earlier on. So the group less than 100 probably right now, maybe at 100. But this is the group that has walked its way from the steps down to 10 seconds away. Copy all. Copy. Copy, thank you.